Hello, welcome back to another video lesson in astrology. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about what to expect if Mars is in the second house. To use this information, you require two charts. The first one is, of course, the basic chart, the Rashi chart, and the next one is the Bhava chart. From the Rashi chart, you get to know whether Mars is in its own sign or exalted, deep exaltation, which is Capricorn 28 degrees, or deep debilitation, which is 28 degrees Cancer. Whether Mars is in its Mula Trikona, which is the first 12 degrees of Aries. Whether Mars occupies the sign of its friends, and the friends of Mars are the Moon, Jupiter and the Sun. And whether Mars occupies the sign of its enemy, Mercury. There are two signs for Mercury, and that is Mars in Gemini or Mars in Virgo. Mars is not comfortable being in these two signs because Mars is the red planet and it hates to be in the green. And the green signs are Gemini and Virgo. Also, if you want to know whether Mars is with malefics like Rahu or Ketu or Saturn, all this is to be known only from the Rashi chart. Even aspects, conjunctions, everything is to be known only from the Rashi chart. Then what is the Bhava chart or the Chalit chart to be used for? The Bhava chart or the Chalit chart is just used to know which house Mars is in. That's it. Beyond that, there is no other use of the Bhava chart. I hope I have made this very clear, and so let's move on to the green board. There are 12 different possibilities for Mars to be in your second house, and the first possibility is right in front of you. The ascendant is Aries, Mesha Lagna, and Mars is in the second house. You don't have to expect all the negative side of Mars being in the second house because Mars has softened up a little bit because of being in the sign of Venus. Here is another situation where the ascendant is Taurus, Rishabha Lagna, and Mars is in the sign of Mercury. And Mars does not like to be in this sign because Mars is the red planet and Mercury is a green planet. And here, Mars is capable of afflicting the second house. This is another situation where the ascendant is Gemini, Mithuna Lagna, and Mars is in the second house. And it is also debilitated. And therefore, you may expect the negative side of Mars being the second house to manifest in the person's life. Here the ascendant is Cancer, Karkataka Lagna, and Mars is in the second house. This Mars is comfortable because Mars is in the sign of Sun, its friend. And not only that, here Mars is the lord of this house, Scorpio, 5th house, and Aries, 10th house. And this is declared as a Yoga Karaka, the planet par excellent. The guardian angel of Karkataka Lagna is Mars. And Mars in the second house, this is actually very good. In this situation, the ascendant is Leo ascendant, Simha Lagna, and Mars is in the second house. And Mars does not like to be here because, not just because it is the sign of Mercury, but it is also the Mula Trikona of Mercury, and therefore Mars very upset being in this particular house. So the negative side of Mars being in the second house is more likely to manifest in this person's life. This is another situation where the ascendant is Virgo, Kanya Lagna, and Mars is in the second house. This Mars is much better off because Mars is in the sign of Venus. And in the sign of Venus, Mars gets a little softened up. This is another combination where the ascendant is Libra, Tula Lagna, and Mars is in the second house. Is quite happy to be here because this sign belongs to Mars. And therefore, you should not expect the negative side of Mars being in the second house in the horoscope of those who have Mars in the second house this way. Here the ascendant is Scorpio, Vrishchika Lagna, and Mars is in the second house. And Mars is quite happy to be here because it belongs to the sign of Jupiter. And not only that, you should read as the Lord of Lagna in the second house, which is actually good for wealth creation. Here the ascendant is Sagittarius, Dhanu Lagna, and Mars is quite happy to be here because Mars is exalted in the second house. So in a situation like this where the planet is exalted, then all the negative side of Mars being in the second house will be fully suppressed. In this situation, the ascendant is Capricorn, Makara Lagna and Mars in the second house in the sign of Saturn, and this Mars is not happy to be here. Here the ascendant is Aquarius, Kumbha Lagna and Mars is in the sign of Jupiter, and Mars and Jupiter, they get along very well. And you should also read it as the 10th lord in the second house. 10th is profession and second house of income, and therefore there is a good connection between profession and income. So we have come to the last possibility here, Mars in the second house with Pisces as the ascendant, Meena Lagna. And this Mars is quite happy to be in this place because this sign belongs to Mars. In a situation like this, you should expect only the positive side of Mars being in the second house. So let's get back to Bhrigu Sutram, and the first statement that Sage Bhrigu says is Vidya heenah, which Dr G S Kapoor translates as the native will have no education. But I feel that Vidya need not necessarily mean only education. It could also be the acquiring of a skill, and it's not exactly no education or no skill. Heenah means diminishing or shortage or not up to the mark. Labhavaan, yet he will gain wealth. This is not uncommon because you may have come across people who didn't actually fare well in their education but made quite a lot of money. So that is possible. If Mars is with the Lord of the sixth house, Shastadhipaynayuthah. Shashta means the sixth house. The Lord of the sixth is Adipa. So Shastadhipaynayuthah. If with the sixth Lord, if Mars is the sixth Lord, the native is to expect eye trouble such as cataract, defective eyesight, blindness, etc. Because he is referring to Netra and Vaiparityam bhavati. The native may recover from eye troubles if the above combination is aspected by a benefic, especially like Jupiter or Venus. So he says, Shubha, Drishtey, Pariharah. Pariharah means there is a remedy. You don't have to do any extra remedy because you brought forward this from your past life. So the problem is also indicated and the solution also comes as a package. But there's some struggle in it. You may have to meet the doctors, and doctors will help you out in case you have eye troubles. That's the meaning of this. So the problem is there, and there is also the solution if Jupiter or Venus influences Mars. The next statement Sage Bhrigu says is Swachhey. Swachhey means Ucha, and Swa-kshetray in own house are happy to be in Vidyaavaan. So here he uses the conditions apply. Now he says totally different things. Now this Mars, as in this example, this Mars is likely to give fantastic education to the person concerned. I actually met a person who throughout college and right from school always stood first in the class. Exactly the same situation, ascendant being Sagittarius and Mars in the second house. And not only that, the person will have a good eyesight. Netra, Vilasah. Netra is eyesight. But then again he says, if this Mars is conjunct with a malefic, is in the house of a malefic and not having any other special qualities like exaltation, or aspected by a malefic, then the native will suffer from eye troubles. We have come to the end of this video. In case you have any doubts, please type them out in the comment section, and whenever I find the time, I'll answer them for you. And see you soon in my next video.